And this afternoon, we're announcing new guidelines for every American to follow over the next 15 days. As we combat the virus, each and every one of us has a critical role to play in stopping the spread and transmission of the virus.
In a society where we see so much distance already, now we are physically distant. In a world where there is so much loneliness, now we're facing self-quarantines and isolation.
President Trump holding a lengthy news conference with an update on where we are with the fight against the coronavirus. The government essentially publishing a set of new guidelines. Many have already been surpassed by some things that we've seen on the state and local level. Perhaps the only major difference is now a suggestion that people not gather in groups larger than 10, and that's certainly consistent again with some other things we've seen happening around the country. As the president was talking, the market was in a free fall. The Dow losing down almost 3,000 points. I missed the percentage. I think about 13% loss there. The S&P down 324.
Courage, man. So I will transfer you my energy. I will transfer my karma. Here is my karma on you. You have a great aura. Encouragement. Yes.
On today's show, we talk about navigating the corona economy. How do you succeed in a world filled with fear? How do you persevere in a world where most people believe that tomorrow is going to be worse than today? On today's show, we talk about the importance of faith, the importance of believing that you can succeed, and we are going to supply you with that encouragement that you need to succeed and lead in this world of the coronavirus.
Let me assert my firm belief that the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. Nameless, unreasoning, unjustified terror, which paralyzes needed efforts to convert retreat into advance.
Some shows don't need a celebrity narrator to introduce the show, but this show does. 2 men, 8 kids, co-created by 2 different women, 13 multi-million-dollar businesses. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Thrive Time Show.
Now, 3, 2, 1, here we go!
Started from the bottom, now we here. Started from the bottom, and we'll show you how to get here. Started from the bottom, now we here. Started from the bottom, now we here. Started from the bottom, now we here.
Yes, 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 and yes, Z. It is always ecstasy when you are next to me, especially when we got the coronavirus going on. It's almost like you are like a magical, like a treatment, Z. It's like I have a fever. America has a fever, and the only cure is more optometrists named Dr. Zellner.
Well, you know what I feel like? Are we enough feet away for social distancing? I mean, do I need to move my mic a little bit further away? I mean, I know I can't hug you and kiss you as normal, but I mean, now do I have to be a little further away? I mean,
yeah, just a little
bit.
Yeah, no, this is good. This is good. It's almost too far.
Because we have a tape measure. I think it's supposed to be 6 feet, and I think
it's 3 to 6 feet. So you're probably good.
It is 3 to 6, Mayor?
3 to 6. Yeah.
3 to 6. So.
Well, we're doing part
that's
3
confusing.
here.
Then you're kind of is it 3 or is it 6?
We're doing part 3 of our series on navigating the coronavirus economy. And we have, Mayor, we have one of your friends here. Who is this man? Do you know this man? Who is this man?
This is Greg Strange of Countertop Solutions here in Broken Arrow.
Hi, Greg. How are you, sir?
I am doing fine. Thank you very much, Clay.
Greg, what do you do for a living there at the Countertop Solutions?
I'm the president and owner of Countertop Solutions. We're a kitchen and bath remodeler. We have a granite fabrication shop, and we've been in business about 22 years.
Is your facility coronavirus free?
Say what?
Is your facility coronavirus?
It is. We've been washing our hands for 20 seconds every hour on the half hour.
I want to ask this because you started your business. Am I correct? Right.
I did. Yes.
How many? What year did you start the company?
98.
98. I was a junior in high school at that point.
Ooh.
And I was in my second year of business because I started my first business when I was 16. And I know when I went out there to start my business, I had two main problems. I didn't have any capital.
Yep.
And I didn't know what I was doing.
Right. Other than that,
I was good.
You dressed for success.
But I bought the gear I needed to start my DJ company. Mm-hmm. And then everybody said, but what if it doesn't work? There's kind of there's an overriding fear about starting a business that everybody had for me. Did you have any fear when you started your first business, and how did you overcome that fear?
Actually, I worked for somebody else for 5 years, and I decided that I could do a better job than they could. So I went to the SBA and borrowed some money and went out on my own. Never looked back. From day one, I hit the ground running, and our business grew.
Were you not at all afraid of that?
You know, I wasn't. I was a little older in life, and I was ready for a career change. I was ready to be my own boss, make my own decisions, and I was pretty amped, pretty pumped about going into business for myself.
Now, Z, correct me if I'm wrong here, but whenever we have a young whippersnapper that reaches out to you and me and they say, could you help me learn how to grow a business?
Could you help me?
Don't 75% of the questions that we get asked relate to how do you overcome the doubt of this?
Right.
How do you overcome the fear of that?
Right.
How do you deal with rejection? How do you overcome the fear of failing? Do you not get those same kind of questions?
Yeah, obviously those are a lot of the questions, and then there's also how do you? A lot of them will have an idea but no money, and so how do I get money? And how do I go and ask somebody to give me some money so I could do this awesome idea? And then half the time they're coming to talk to us not about what we think about their business or to mentor them. They're really coming to us as for an ask, kind of
asking for some money.
So
let's assume that somebody has the money, but
they're
bound by fear. What advice would you have for somebody out there that wants to start a company, and maybe they own a company, and they're struggling with fear? See, what advice would you have for someone who's struggling with overcoming fear?
I would say, listen, son, and that's gender neutral. Could be a girl. And then I would say, daughter. So person. Let's just go person. Dear person.
Dear generous person.
What I'd like you to do is sit down. Take a deep breath. And every time you get afraid, I want you to reach up with your hand slowly and slap yourself in the face as hard as you can. Repeatedly.
Slap myself.
And say, fear. Be gone. No, I'm telling you this is that fear is one of those things that can drive you. It's a driver. Having a little bit of, I hope it works. I know it's going to work. I remember when I was building my auto auction, there was a day that it was kind of a crossover from, I sat down with my team and we weren't open yet. We actually celebrate 7 years this year.
7 years?
7 years, yes. We're now the largest in Oklahoma. And I got another funny story about the coronavirus with the auction, but I'll get to that in a second. But anyway, I sat everybody down and said, guys, we've officially gone from, I hope this works, to it has to work.
To it has to work.
I mean,
woo! Wait a minute. What does that mean?
What does that mean?
What
does that mean? Is that I'd signed some very expensive paperwork.
Yeah.
And some people just wanted my autograph for particular reasons. One,
people
is to
at the
give
bank.
money. Yes, the bankers and all that kind of stuff.
You're big with bankers.
It became really real in that sense that you go from a dream to an idea to mapping it out to all of a sudden then you commit, and once you hit that commitment, you've got to be all in. I mean, you've got to burn the boats. You've got to be all in. You've got to be the pig at breakfast and not the chicken. And what that means is that the pig gave his life, fully committed to breakfast. The chicken laid an egg and was like, yeah, maybe I'll lay one tomorrow too. I don't know. Maybe I hope it works, So I remember that transition of hoping it works to having to work. And you don't be a fool to say that there wasn't some fear in there. But fear is like stress. It's just a motivator on how you get things done. Now you're just driven. You're driven. And so someone says, well, how many hours a week do you have to put in? And what did you have to do? All of them, whatever I had to do, however long it took to do it.
What about work-life balance?
No, you work, and then when things are rolling and doing really well, then you get back to life a little bit more, But yeah, and a funny story real quickly about the auction.
Sure.
So this last weekend, our competitor gets on the announcement. Our big competitor in town gets on and says, due to the coronavirus, we will be cleaning our facility 3 times a week. Just want to let everybody know.
And did you let them know you'd be cleaning it 3.5 times?
No. So then we got on. We said, oh, everybody just wants you to know that due to the coronavirus, we're going to continue to clean ours every day.
Oh. Now, Z, this is what I wanted to talk about here, and I want to get Greg's take on this. Martin Luther King Jr. once wrote, the famous civil rights leader, he once wrote, faith is taking the first step even when you don't see the whole staircase. So, Greg, do you remember when Mayor Thurmond decided he wanted to become, before he was mayor, do you remember when he wanted to become mayor? Have you guys known each other since before he became mayor? Or?
Not that long. It was after he became mayor that we got acquainted.
How did you guys meet?
Actually, I think one of the first times we met was in China.
What?
About 4 years ago.
You guys brought the virus over. Oh,
Yeah,
I knew it.
I
knew it.
My wife and I and his wife, and we went to a Chamber of Commerce tour to China for about 8 days. And so we had breakfast and we had dinner and just got a chance to meet each other and get to know one another. And then we sit on the same board at the HBA, the Home Builders Association. And so we sit in the back and talk and visit. And, hey, how's it going? Just fine. We're just cutting it up. And so what are you doing this week? Oh, well, I'm going to, D.C. to get some more money and grants for Broken Arrow. And it's like, this guy is so laid back that I really like him. He's not really in your face, but he's kind of a behind-the-scenes guy. But he has influence, and he always seems to pull a consensus together, and he's a team builder, and I've just always enjoyed and appreciated that about him.
So do you did you meet him during his first term or second term here?
In between the two.
And did he say anything about, because you've been at Broken Arrow for a long time, correct?
40 years.
Broken Arrow is now the second fastest growing city in Oklahoma. The downtown is usually booming outside of the coronavirus. There's been a lot of expansion. The Warren Theater came to town. You've got the Bass Pro Shop that came to town. Did he tell you any of his visions or plans for Broken Arrow that maybe seemed a little crazy? Did he ever tell you something that seemed a little bit far-fetched?
Yeah, how about the boxing match that we had last year? That it was supposed to be at downtown Main Street, and I think the weather, the tornadoes kind of got it called off. They ended up moving that indoors, but I thought that was pretty incredible. That I think it was
Showbox.
Showbox.
Yeah, Showtime.
He brought professional boxing to Broken Arrow. That was real.
So what I want to do is
Adrian.
I want to do because again it's topical. People want to know right now. People are into it. And our podcast, some of these shows, people will listen to them years later. Yeah. But I want to talk about this, navigating this Corona economy. Let's talk about combating fear with faith. You have built a business owner, or built a business, and you're an owner. So therefore, you understand faith, faith in yourself, faith in the country, faith in your customers. There's a lot. What would you say to somebody out there right now, in all sincerity, who's just feeling a little bit down? They own a business. They're thinking about what the future looks like. What would you say? You've been on the planet for a while. You've seen some things. What would you say to the listeners out there?
Well, there's hope and there's faith, and you have to be optimistic. If you're going to be an entrepreneur, you're going to have to take risks, and that means there's going to be the option of failure. But you push through that, realizing that tomorrow's going to be a better day. You might have a bad week. You might even have a bad month. You might even have a bad year, but you still push through because you believe in what you're doing. You believe in yourself. You believe in your God. You believe in your people and your team. And you have this burning desire in your heart that says, no matter what comes my way, we're going to see better days. We're going to push through it. We're going to figure out what it's going to take to make this thing work, and we're going to do it.
Z, I want to give the listeners some action steps here, and I want to kind of tie this into what the mayor's doing. The first thing,
one thing that
go for it.
What Greg said, God didn't give us a spirit of fear. So we can't have fear. We've got to have faith that things are going to work out. So I think it's really important that because God didn't give us a spirit of fear, we should never have a spirit of fear.
I agree with you, and I want to get into how the listeners can convey this to their teams. So back in the day, Z, I hired a guy to teach me some public speaking skills. And that man was Carlton Pearson. This is when he was the head pastor of the Higher Dimensions Church. I remember he pulled me aside and said, Clay, you don't spell words. Words cast a spell on people. And I remember going, what does that mean? And he was telling me about how the words and the images you put up in your office can be of optimism and hope and success and joy, or they can be of depression and fear. And Kendall, as you pan the man cave here, I think that's abundantly clear. I try to put up things that are uplifting, things all over the office. Z, you've seen it. There's always positive things.
Positive things. People love coming to the home office, too, because so many things are written on the walls all over the place that just are inspiring, help pump you up. They're edifying. You feel good after you read it. You think, yeah.
So let's talk about that for a second. Your vision for Broken Arrow. I've seen you put up images of the future of Broken Arrow, of plans you have for the city of Broken Arrow, renderings. I've seen you celebrate the successes and wins of Broken Arrow. Let's get into that. How have you as mayor put positive things out there and casted a vision positively for the city of Broken Arrow? How have you done that? Because if not, people could fear that Broken Arrow was going to continue to be the sleepy, empty downtown Broken Arrow it had always been.
I think that's really important that we start talking about moving forward. We have to constantly move forward because otherwise you're moving backwards. So it started when I was on the council as the vice mayor, and we started with Bass Pro in 2005. And
I remember that.
That's how we got things started. And then we have things like the Warren Theater, and we have the Rose District and Stony Creek Conference Center. We just keep trying to do things that'll bring our community forward. And of course, our next big thing is the Innovation District, where we can create a district that's for so kids don't have to leave. They can be educated here and be interns here in companies that are high tech and low tech and all types of companies, so that they can have a job. They can have a very good job and not have to leave our area. So that's our next big thing. But I think you do have to have that image and that vision of the future. And when you quit looking forward or looking towards the future, then you quit. You're just not moving forward, and you're moving backwards. And we cannot go backwards. And a lot of our communities in our state, we see that where they stagnate and they don't move forward, and we have to constantly move forward.
If you're a leader out there, again, action items for you. Action item number 1, put positive images on the wall. Share with people the history. I have a lot of history I want to share with the listeners today. And some of it you might say, this isn't positive at all. But I'm going to give it to you. This is just my lifetime. 1999, 1999, the West Nile virus. Do you remember it?
Yes, I do.
Did it happen?
It did, and I, since mosquitoes love me so much, I was thinking, this isn't good for me. But it didn't happen. I never got it that I know of. I mean, I don't know. Did you get West Nile? You probably don't even know. You maybe got East Nile. I think I got a North.
Greg, do you remember the West Nile?
I do.
You do. And do you remember people who were paralyzed by the fear of it? Do you remember this?
Yeah, they mentally incapacitated and emotionally just distraught. And,
Yeah.
and it was like it's the fear of the unknown, and I think that's what people react so much to. Is just that they don't know what's going to happen, so they always seem to make the wrong turn when that happens.
Can you imagine 20 years ago? Think of this: if we had social media the way we have now, Facebook, Instagram, all the stuff we have, over Y2, how big a fiasco was Y2K? How much bigger would that have been if that was happening? If we had what we had today, 21, 22 years ago.
Well, let's
Can
read
you imagine?
this.
Can you imagine?
No, let me read this. Let me read the definition to you of what this was. How the West Nile virus was described in '99. It says, people who get the West Nile virus usually have no symptoms or mild symptoms. The symptoms include a fever, headache,
got a fever,
body aches, skin rash, swollen. But again, it was like they could usually show no symptoms or mild symptoms. Another example, Y2K, we made it through that. September 11, again, I do feel bad for the 2,977 victims and their families. But I know people today who will not fly because of that.
Oh, yeah.
I know people, the anthrax scare. I know people who wouldn't open their mail for the longest time. 2009, the swine flu. We had 60.8 million cases. The CDC said somewhere between 43.3 million and 89.3 million. They had 60.8 confirmed. I got all the stats in the show notes. 12,469 people died. 34.16 people died per day of the swine flu. And we go on the flu. Wiped out 61,000 people in 2018. 61,099.
People.
And that's 167 people per day.
Why was that not a pandemic back then? I don't understand that.
2018, check this out. Errors in hospitals, according to CNBC. Oops. You're in the hospital and the surgeon goes, uh-oh. It's never a good thing when your surgeon says, could you pass me the uh-oh. Whenever you hear the uh-oh, you kind of, uh-oh. 250,000 people died from the uh-oh button, according to CNBC in 2018. An accident in a hospital. I was looking up stats today. There are thousands of people that die per year falling down stairs. I mean, it's crazy. Stairs. Yeah, so again, I just want to make sure we're breaking this down. I mean, 10 people per day right now, folks, are dying. 10.9 people are dying per day right now from homicides. I mean, it's crazy stats. So I'm going to give you some action items here. So 1, put out positive images. 2, cast a vision that's positive. Proverbs 18:4 reads, a person's words can be life-giving water. Words of true wisdom are as refreshing as a bubbling brook. I want to get your take on this, Greg. Why do you as an owner have to say positive things to your employees? Why can't you run around crying all the time and portraying fear in your voice?
Well, because I'm their leader, and they'll follow whatever I present to them. And
There it is.
So it's as simple as that. So what we've done is we've put up our core values all over the offices in the shop. We've put out our mission statement, which is who we are and what we're striving to be. And I'm training my staff currently to weigh every decision that they're going to make independently of us, based on what our core values are. And if it doesn't match the sniff test, then don't do it. So this is one of the things that I'm trying to instill within them, that as to who we are and who we want to be. So it's very important that I present a clear vision, and that I get their support, and that we're all on the same page to move forward.
This is my final pro tip here, Z.
Okay.
Never waste a big crisis.
Never. You know what? There's going to be a lot of money won, a lot of money lost, a lot of money made, a lot of money gained, and a lot of money just goes bye-bye.
Hand sanitizer. They selling some of that there, Mayor Craig? Have you seen that? Are they selling some of that?
If you could find it somewhere, you could buy it. But
Toilet
yeah.
paper
You could
manufacturers.
resell that.
I mean,
I'm gonna have a reselling of toilet paper out on this corner here. I got a bunch, and go out there and
recycled toilet paper.
Just sell it. Just sell it.
But think about this for a second. Seriously, online retailers, are more people buying on Amazon right now than in stores? Yep. Toilet paper sales are up. I was recently looking at a study that was on Fox News that said that 90% of the pharmaceutical drugs made in our country right now are made overseas, in China.
Mm-hmm.
So we have the capacity. We made the prototypes here. We have factories. A lot of times there are idle factories in some of these Rust Belt, cities that are sitting there vacant. See,
Sure.
Somebody out there can say, "I've got some capital.
I got some capital.
I got some ability to do some stuff. Let's
make
go
some
ahead."
drugs.
I mean, I'm just saying there's opportunities out there, and if you look at the other side of any adversity, there's always, if you look under that adversity, there's always an opportunity. So Mayor, I want to get your take on this and Greg's take on this. Have you ever found that there is an opportunity for the city of Broken Arrow where other cities might see an adversity?
Sure. I think we have a lot of opportunity here that other cities may see as adversity, and every challenge that we have. And I mean, why I even got on the council was the opportunity to be able to make a difference in our community. So we do see a lot of different things that are opportunities that other cities may see as a challenge that we don't see that way. And a lot of it is public safety, a lot of different things that we look at, and infrastructure. But because our citizens support us, we have a lot more opportunities than other cities do.
Greg, I would argue, and see, it's not nice to argue with a first-time guest.
It's not nice,
especially
but
when they look
sometimes
to be
it's
tough.
necessary. I know.
If I could grow facial hair like that, I would. I would rule the world.
He's kind of old school.
I can't do it.
I know. I go back. We go back a ways.
So
Greg and I do.
I would just say this. How have you known Greg, by the way? How have you known Greg?
He was in with my stepdad. They were in a business together and friends.
Running guns across the border?
Yeah, running guns. They were gun runners back in the day. And they were also mules for the drug cartel.
Was it the Tom Cruise movie where you guys flew the drugs? Is that what that was?
Yeah, they could do a couple hard landings and
very open on you.
But since 9/11, they said we're not getting in planes anymore, so
they're
afraid stopped that. They're afraid of that.
So I want to bring this up though, because you're not the first guy to do cabinets. You're not the countertops. I'm sorry, not the first guy to do countertops. You're not the first guy to do that. And your company, what's your website for Countertop Solutions?
Countertop Solutions Inc.
Greg, get right on that mic. Just get right
Countertop
up.
Solutions Inc.
Countertop Solutions.
There you go. All right.
So you're not the first guy to do countertops. And I can tell you, I have seen some really crappy countertop companies in Tulsa. If there wasn't an opportunity created by the jackassery of bad countertop people, you wouldn't be in existence, right? I mean, because you do what you say you're going to do. The rumor has it, on time, on budget, that's created an opportunity. So some people would say, well, what percentages of countertop businesses in Broken Arrow have failed? For me, I know nothing about your industry other than a lot of them should fail, because I see friends and family who've hired these jackasses that don't deliver on time, on budget. But their failure has created an opportunity for you, right? I mean, don't you hear horror stories all the time that have created opportunities for you?
All the time. And you're right. It's on time and on budget. Those two things.
It's a weird idea.
Yeah, it's a novel concept. But if you can just do those two things, there's a good chance you're going to be successful at whatever you're doing. I've had the privilege of doing some work for Robert Zellner over here. I've had some privilege to do work for Mayor Thurmond and other people as well. We've done commercial and residential jobs.
Yeah.
And it's a challenge. You're only as good as your people. You do have to have good people, but you have to have good policies, and you have to have a good understanding as to what we're doing. We're serving the customer. And we not only want to meet their expectations, we want to exceed that. If we don't get a repeat business. We don't get referrals. And quite frankly, that's what we rely upon.
If you're out there today and you're just stressed out about this whole corona thing, I'm going to tell you this. You can't quit.
Can't quit.
You got to keep going.
Got to keep going.
If you're going through hell, you can't stop.
You probably need a new countertop. That'll make you feel better about it all.
If you're going through hell, put on a new countertop.
Nothing says I love my home and want to stick in my home a little bit longer than putting a new countertop.
And it says
down.
confidence. They're
I
like,
mean, it's confidence.
Carl, aren't you down to your last 50 G's? Yeah, but I put it all on this countertop.
I upgraded my countertops, and I feel so much better about them.
Oh, man. So, again, I would just say if you're out there and you're kind of being overwhelmed by the fear, the best way to combat fear is with action. You got to keep moving. Keep taking action. And I want to recap these 3 action steps. 1, put positive images and visuals throughout your office. 2, cast the vision with positive words. Proverbs 18:4. A person's words can be life-giving water. Words of true wisdom are as refreshing as a bubbling brook. And 3, never waste a big crisis. Be thinking about, is this the time to get into the sanitation game? Is this the time
Well,
to...
I tell you what, the stock market, I tell you what, any time now. I mean, that's what Warren Buffett says. How do you think he made all of his money? He said, buy when everybody's fearful. I mean,
Yes.
everybody's fearful right now.
Oh,
So as
man.
it's rocketing down, I mean, get those blue chips that are, what would you say, Carnival was 80% off?
Carnival was almost 85% off, and my wife and I went all in, 10 grand on it.
Oh, my.
We did Carnival. Also, a great fundamental companies. I mean, Microsoft was way off, not that much, but they were way off. But Carnival's off. Norwegian was off like 60 some odd percent.
Yeah.
Bought that too because they still own boats.
They still own
And
them.
I'm betting on the world not ending. I'm not making a huge bet here. I'm just saying if the world doesn't end,
You hedge your bet because if it does end, your 10,000 is not going to matter any.
Yeah.
Right. So
I hadn't thought about that.
That's a positive way to look at it.
You should sell stocks. That should be your move. Hey, well, I tell you what, Greg, I appreciate you for being here. Mayor Craig, as always, you're a great American. Dr. Z, it's ecstasy when you're next to me, and I'm so you're so good. You're almost, it's like you're exponentially growing. Our love is growing. It's almost viral. dare I
Our
say.
love. What's the song? What's the love song? You got the love songs.
Oh,
wait.
If I can't have you, I don't want Corona, baby. If I can't have you. Okay, let's end with the boom here. Here we go. 3, 2, 1, boom.